Boingo. Double dip cream dream supreme.
It's a cream dream.
Quick little update on a project I'm about to pursue. Getting some real rough estimates here, just kind of laying down what I want to do. So basically I want to move this pulley over to this side. I find, especially with something like a multi-spinner, like this pulley is great and it works fine for most things, but on something like a multi, and I mean, if you didn't want to do this, you could probably always tie some knots in this and make this shorter, but I just feel like it's more awkward also because how much wider the table is. So when you try and get beside it, so with the multi, basically when I'm trying to get beside it, it's too off center way out here. I'm not gonna do it right now because my rack's in the way and I'd have to move the table, but if you just pin your leg up against here and you go as far over as you can, it kind of works out. But the thing is, this is about where it would sit if I had this actually hooked up. If I was doing a high or low cut, doesn't matter. My elbow is trailing off of the side and I'm kind of resting my forearm in it. I mean, that probably works to some degree, but it's just not as accurate as I'd like. And not only that, but I do want to make a T-style loading pin. It's just easier to just smack weights on there or fling them off for your different lifts that are going to be different weights. So I just think it's going to be way more convenient. Obviously this is inspired by Devin's setup, and I mean there's a reason why he does it like that, because it works really well. So the plan is I'll use the peg hole, and I'll have to drill a hole around here somewhere, which kind of works out because when you slap the elbow pad on there, it's probably going to hide most of the hole. So I'm not too worried about that. The lengths will be the same length that the elbow pads are apart, because that is the same length that the pulley system uses. So I'll drill a hole there, bang, stick the pulley through like you normally would, thread it in. All you gotta do is just untwist that. And then I'm gonna use this rod and I'm gonna cut it into probably 2 9-inch pieces, and I'll weld one on each side. I'm gonna try and weld perpendicular and just fill in the crack with as much as I can, make it super strong, hopefully. Now, I'm not the best welder. I wouldn't even say I'm a good welder, but we'll see how it goes. And the way that I'm just gonna fasten this is very simple. I'm just gonna take a flat iron and I will weld the metal tubing to the flat iron like this, and I'll cut this probably 4 inches or so. That is around the length of this, so I mean I really only need a chunk like that, and I'll just drill 2 holes in it and I'll just bolt that up. I mean, this doesn't really have to bear any weight. It's really only there for this rod that kind of just keeps everything aligned. So I'm just finishing up my measurements, figuring out where I want everything. Maybe tomorrow or the next day or over the next couple of days, I'll get this thing built up. Now that I'm ready for anything, I'm about to strip the paint off of this bit. Now I just gotta see if I can separate this, and if I can, great, I'll reuse it. If not, I'll have to find a loop. Just a little bit more hanging on. Focus. Perfect. I can pry this off. Oh yeah. It's making its way.
Boingo.
That's what I wanted. Absolute fucking expert. Gotta drill some holy wolies. And got the rod on there. Got some holes drilled. Pretty much just gotta attach these to the loading pin and put the hook on. It's a terrible way to film this, but I'm gonna make sure my welds are gonna hold, so I'm just gonna hang my body weight off it. Yep, it holds. Little gap city, but we're gonna take care of that. About to make light work of this. Cat's wigged out, but got the old hole drilled. Pretty much the exact same thing that they did there. So I drilled that out of 3/8 drill bit, and then all I'm gonna do is do the exact same thing that they do with the peg, is just stick washer on top. I'll need a long bolt. This is like a metric thread. It's kind of a weird thread, so hopefully I can find something, because I'd like to keep the wing nut. I mean, if I can't, I guess it's not the biggest deal, but it's just nice this way. You don't even have to have any tools to put this back together. You just spin these out, spin that on by hand, easy. But all I gotta do is get 2 bolts, and then I'll be able to stick the pulley system on here. And the nice thing about this is that hole is like totally hidden pretty much after you stick the pin pad back in. So you go to put this back together, you stick your peg in, it looks like you haven't even done nothing. Okay, I'd like to give a little overview here because I've made some changes, all right? Some of them may be ugly, some of them, actually most of them are ugly. Okay, so the full setup here, I'm just gonna give a general overrun of what I did here, okay? So let me slide these off. So I had a regular Olympic size loading pin. I hacked the top off just below the loop, and then as you can see, just reattached the loop to the side here. And all the placements were all measured out, like I knew exactly where I wanted it on the pin, so it's not just like I didn't just throw it on there. Welded the 2 rods on the side. The 1-inch plates will fit on this, and obviously the 2-inch, so I can use either or. That's why I used a skinnier rod. So a 2x2-inch square metal tubing, and just took a chunk, cut it 9 inches, welded a flat iron on the end, drilled 2 holes in it. And the reason I have this pipe on there is actually because what I didn't think about before, where the peg sits is actually a little bit closer to the end of the table than the rear hole on the pad. So these lengths are the same as this, just instead of being in here, we're a little bit out on the edge. So this thing actually flexed pretty good whenever there was weight on it. So that's why I put this pipe there. I put a little support bracket and just welded a flat iron on the top. Okay, and then for this pole here, oh, it's all greased up, I forgot. So the original rod that I had in there was quite a bit smaller in diameter than the inside of the loading pin, and so it would wobble around and you kind of get like a cock. It would cock and then it would drag up on the metal pole, and it just wasn't quite as smooth as I'd like. It took more just to actually move it, and then there was kind of a bit of like a sticking point, and so I didn't want that. So I figured out that a 1.25 inch ABS pipe, which I used ABS pipe for my multi-spinner as well. This is a 3-inch one. But a 1.25 inch ABS pipe actually fit like almost perfectly on the inside of the loading pin. And so at the bottom, I actually just siliconed it to the metal because I didn't know how else to do it. But then at the top, I was also quite a bit, still a little wobbly, because again, the inside diameter of the ABS pipe was still bigger than the outside diameter of that rod in the middle. So I made this little weird looking washer thing. So that's solid. So if I were to grab this thing, move it around, it don't move at all. So that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want any flexing. I didn't want it to be able to caulk on there really. You can see about how tight it is around there. There's not a lot of movement. And so in turn, you get that real nice up and down. Oh yeah, and don't forget to give this the old double dip cream dream supreme.
It's a cream dream.
So I greased that whole ABS pipe, and then I sprayed it with WD-40 afterwards, and did the same thing on the inside of the loading pin. So I'm sticking some like Velcro tape on this thing. I'm just gonna make the outline, and I'm gonna cut this little pad to fit on my elbow pad. Yeah, that's kind of the idea there. It's just a thin, light, foamy, but it's got more squish than the side of these are actually pretty hard. They only have padding on the top, so I'm gonna use this as my elbow pad. Just use my elbow here. Other thing you could do is drill the exact same hole that you drilled on that side. So you drill a hole around there and then take your peg out and use the regular elbow pad here. You could do that as well. This is just the way I wanted to do it. So I'll just stick my elbow pad like this or something. Have my foamy on there, and then I'll have a soft elbow pad. And of course, just Velcro tape this pad on there so it can come off as well. And this is your pad. I can move it around anywhere, because in different lifts, you know, I might have it here. Maybe for the grip, I might have it back here somewhere. of course, other hand, I'll have it over there, that kind of thing. So that's really all there is to it, right? So I did this for ease. It's way easier to just throw weights on and off than as opposed to like taking the clip off, having to slide a new weight down, or having to take one off, put another one on, you know. All your lifts are gonna be pretty different. And I like the length this way, like my elbow, I'm never gonna run out of elbow room here. But that's all there really is to my little DIY table setup. Like I said before, it works great when it's over here. Like, it works fine. I like this way a little bit better. It's a little bit easier for me, and I've got a little bit more room to play with my elbow around, so that's why I did it. Without further ado, signing off.